For many of us, heading out into the woods in search of a white-tailed buck is a tradition that takes us back to our youth. Many people will be introduced to hunting in the white-tailed woods, and for many of us, our first animal harvested was a white-tailed deer. We may spend majority of our season each year chasing other animals, but when you break it all down, most of us are whitetail hunters at heart. The number one most targeted big game species in North America is the white-tailed deer, and for good reason. They're smart, evasive, and thrive in all different climates and regions. And for us up north, that region has always been the big timber. The vast expanse of woods that covers hundreds of square miles. And somewhere dead in the middle of that, we often search for one specific deer. Sure, there's always a few shooters that we have in mind, but for the past 3 years now, that one specific deer has always been a buck we simply called the 7x7.
Oh man, I'm warm now.
Couple other ones we can check. Way back in the summer of 2016, when I still used to run trail cameras during the summer months, I had gotten a few lone pictures of an ancient old non-typical buck with inlines coming in off his main beams. He had randomly showed up in a spot that I had been hunting for years, and judging by his long arched Roman nose, he wasn't a young buck. I had no idea where he'd come from, but I wanted to figure it out. I spent the rest of the fall littering the bush with covert cameras, but was only able to cross paths with him one more time in early October. After that, he had vanished, and we turned our attention toward other deer in the meantime. We spent a ton of time hunting in that area, hoping to potentially run into him, but he had crawled into a hole for the entire month of November, leaving us to wonder if he would survive the winter. The following year, I had told myself that I wouldn't waste my entire season searching for him. Instead, I would focus on my regular spots and always wonder where he might be. But early in the season, after setting up stands in a familiar spot, I had checked a few cameras and couldn't believe who I was seeing. Over 6 kilometers away, in a completely different part of the bush that I had hunted hard for years, there he was. I was excited to see him, but at the same time, I knew that I had just sentenced myself to an entire month of sitting in one spot, waiting for a specific deer that likely would never return.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Top Grade Construction, Black Widow Innovations, Vortex Optics, Covert Scouting Cameras, Old Smokes Coffee, and the Municipal District of Bonnyville. This segment of the show is brought to you by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, a proud supporter of our outdoor heritage. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by the MD of Bonnyville. Lake adventures happen here.
It's the morning of November 9th here. I came up yesterday, did a full camera sweep, and there's a deer that I've been looking for the past 2 years. I had pictures of him last year in the summertime, and he disappeared in October. He was just a giant 7x7, big non-typical, inline points, and I came in here yesterday to check the cameras in this spot, and he's actually showed up 6 kilometers to the south from where he was last year. And it's the same spot I killed my buck last year. and the wind blew everything in, so we're up here nice and early. Got in here before legal light, and we're going to grab the stands, slam them up hopefully in the next 45 minutes or less here, and then we're gonna crawl in right as the sun's coming up and sit for the rest of the day. But it's gonna be a chilly one, and I'm trying not to get all sweated up, but we gotta get in there. I just wish I'd have known. I didn't expect him to be here. It's the last place I expected him to show up, so I really didn't plan on hunting this spot this year. But we gotta hunt where the deer's at, so. Darcy and myself would spend the entire month of November taking turns hunting this particular spot together. We knew he had been here, and we hoped he would return. But as each day passed, I continued to lose faith.
That walking really sucks. That's a long ways to walk with this many clothes on.
We've actually started walking into some of our stands here, especially this one. We're gonna see if it makes any bit of a difference. We've been seeing lots of deer, and I don't think it makes a difference, but we're gonna try it out. We're in here nice and early. We got down to the last 10 days of the season, and we're basically sitting on this big 7x7 every day until either we run out of time or he shows up, him or that 5x5, but the deer we're really after is the 7x7. So climb in, get set up. There's been some deer moving. We didn't hunt yesterday. Darcy had the day off, and we woke up at 4:30, and it was a hurricane outside, 50-kilometer winds, and it was only minus 16 or 17, but the wind chill was 32, and we got some of the best gear out there to sit in. But when you're in a tree stand, you can sit minus 32 with no wind, but when it's like that, and it's cold because of the wind, it just blows right through you. There's no way you could do it, and it's really not safe to be out here in that. It's older bush, older timber, and always trees falling down, so took the day off, and looks like quite a few deer moved overnight once the wind broke, so we're hoping that carries on to this morning, and maybe with any luck that guy will cruise by. There was a pack of wolves that walked by about a kilometer down the trail, so hopefully that doesn't hurt anything. I wasn't sure we were in the right spot, and we never got a picture of him after the beginning of November. We were essentially sitting in the same spot, looking at the same 70 yards of bush around us, and praying for a miracle that would never come. As the season closed with both of our tags neatly folded in our pockets, and in no real danger of ever being filled that fall, I couldn't help but feel that we were no closer to killing him than ever before. We had wasted an entire season chasing him, while learning absolutely nothing more about him. He was one of the oldest deer in the woods, and I truly didn't know if he could survive another winter. And even if he did, I wasn't entirely sure if I had the mental strength to chase him again next fall. But I suppose that's where my good friend Daniel Martichuk comes into the story.
Just the way I like it.
Daniel Martichuk is a good friend of mine that you may remember from an episode last season. We were chasing elk together up north and were able to rescue a small bull from a mud hole, undoubtedly saving its life.
Come on, bud. He's good. He's going, run.
This year, I had managed to convince Daniel to come freeze his butt off in a tree stand with me for a week in the Whitetail Woods. He had never sat in a tree stand before, but was willing to give it a try. The one thing you need to know about Daniel is that he's a meat hunter first and foremost, and had simply made the trip to Alberta to fill his freezer. We had a week to hunt together, and according to the cameras, there were several mature bucks cruising through this area over the past few days, but I just had to convince Daniel to be patient.
What's that?
Is there any deer yet?
There might be if you turn that light off. Probably running all around because of all the peat I sprayed.
Just stumbling over each other trying to get here.
Yeah. That's potent stuff.
See, in BC, it would be legal to shoot right now.
Not with the light on.
Yeah, we'd have to turn the light off. Obviously, if we need a light, then we shouldn't be shooting. That's BC rules for you.
Oh, Lord. I'm just sitting here. Been sitting here for the last day and a half. And I, for some reason, looked down at the ground and I'm like, Dana, there's a deer shed under the stand. No idea how many years it's been laying there with Dana sitting beside it. But there's a deer shed like right there. It's probably no more than 5 yards from where we walk up the ladder every day. How long have you been sitting over top of this shed?
3 years now.
I guess I shouldn't do that. I'm gonna get shot. It's my first whitetail shed.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, Deluxe Wall Tents, Top Notch Taxidermy, ExileOutdoors.com, Victory Archery, and Hornady Ammunition. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Top Grade Construction in Lloydminster, Alberta. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Deluxe Wall Tents, built in Canada for Canadian conditions.
For the first couple days of our hunt, we were seeing plenty of deer. We had rattled in a number of young bucks, and the activity was getting better each day.
Where am I looking?
He's behind a spruce tree, you probably can't see him. But the problem was that Daniel was getting impatient. With every small buck that I made him pass, he was getting more and more frustrated, and I knew that I was only going to be able to hold his finger off the trigger for so long.
Boom, dead. He would have tasted good. I thought that was old basket rack.
I thought so too for a second. It wasn't him. By the fourth day of our hunt, he had made it very clear that he was killing the first full rack buck that walked by. We had put in some time to try and kill a mature buck, but at this point, he was ready to fill the freezer.
I look like I got a baby.
You look warm.
I feel warm.
Early that morning, a doe came running from the brush and buzzed our stands before I could even get the camera on her. Her tail was straight up, and I knew that she was in heat. A young spiker was hot on her trail, and I knew that we better get ready, because he wouldn't be the last one chasing her. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
If you want to.
I'm not on him. I'm gonna shoot him when he comes out from behind the spruce trees. What? Okay.
Whenever.
He's not very big.
Okay, then don't. To this very day, I'll never understand why he didn't pull that trigger. I had given him the green light, and it was a perfect opportunity. But I truly believe that things happen for a reason, and as we watched this buck follow the trail out to our right, we had heard a loud crash behind us, and here he came.
I caught him.
I have him there. Keep it. Wait, no. You got him there. Yeah. Just make for a good shot. Okay. You have him there? No. Let him come out from behind the spruce trees. He's gonna come right by, same trail. Dude, you have no idea what you just did.
What did I do? What just happened?
That's the 7x7 deer that I've been hunting for 3 years.
That's a 7x7?
That's the biggest deer I have in this book.
No. Dude, you're kidding me.
That's the deer I've been trying to kill for 3 years.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Dory River Outfitters, Phone Scope, Matthews Archery, Wapiti River Outdoors, iHunter, and Scree Gear. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Vortex, the force of optics. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Dory River Outfitters, Saskatchewan's premier bear destination.
No. Let him come out from behind the spruce trees. That's the 7x7 deer that I've been hunting for 3 years.
That's a 7x7?
That's the biggest deer I have in this book.
No. Dude, you're kidding me.
That's the deer I've been trying to kill for 3 years. That thing's 175 inch deer.
He's dead right there.
You pounded him.
He's down right there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Man, we had a doe and a little buck go by this morning, and this little buck just came in, and I was ready to shoot him. I was gonna shoot him, and Dana said no. Well, no, Dana said yes. And I was like, okay. And I lined up on this little buck, and I knew Dana, he was a good up-and-comer. Like, he had a good frame, but he's a young deer. And I didn't shoot him. And right away, we just hear snort, snort, snort. And in comes this monster buck, and Dana said, oh yeah, that's a good one. And I was so excited. I tried to keep my composure because I knew he was gonna follow that hot nose trail right in front of us. And that's exactly what he did. He couldn't have been more than, what, 40 yards? He came in at like 40 yards. He's down right under that tree, eh? Wow. Look at this deer, Dana. Are you kidding me? This is your buddy here, eh? Look at this giant. I can't believe that happened. This deer is beautiful. Look at this. Look at that. Would you just look at it? Look at these. What do you even call these in the whitetail world?
Lines now.
Oh, wow. This deer is beautiful.
Well, now you get to look at them for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I get to eat them for the next year. That's the important part.
Crazy how it goes from so slow to 100 miles an hour, huh?
It's crazy how it goes from slow to 100 miles an hour. And one hot doe came through here, and she laid it out for us. First she had a 2-point come by, and then a little 5-point came by, and I opted not to shoot him because I know that's what Dana wanted, and Dana was gracious enough to host me out here, and I let him walk so he could become a bigger deer. And not 30 seconds later, here comes this guy. Dana, you wanted me to hold out for a shooter, so I held out for a shooter, and the shooter of all shooters just happened to come by.